Welcome to the Time Is Now podcast. My name is Jody Albert Moss, and these are readings from my book, The Time Is Now, Episode 6. Chapter 4, On with the Show. There was a continual flow of people coming into the show in Brantford where we were vendors. It was an incredible sight, as the vendors and conference halls were full. I really had no idea there was this much interest in UFOs, disclosure, and conspiracy theories, just to name a few of the topics of discussion. Come on, we were in Brantford, not Los Angeles. My eyes were beginning to be opened, and fast. People were filling the two rooms containing the vendors, and most of these people seemed to have a story or an experience they wanted to share. Most were local, meaning they had traveled maybe an hour to get to the event. But there were also people from all over the world attending, which again, I had a problem believing, but I couldn't deny it. My family and I talked to the people who wanted to know more about our products, and we listened to their stories. Stories, in a way, were familiar to me. The topics they discussed were very much part of my life in the past and at the present. I was not without stories and experiences similar to the ones I was hearing. Time passed quickly, and people seemed to flow in and out of our room when there were breaks between the speakers. They would rush in to optimize the little time they had and see what the vendors were offering. Throughout the day, we went from busy to slow. It seemed a cycle, and it was during the slow times that we could explore and talk with the other vendors. Do some networking. I noticed a lady across from us was selling dowsing rods and pendulums, as well as her books and other written materials. We exchanged waves. However, there was too many people to go say hello, so we never had the opportunity on the first day. We also noticed that this lady would cover her table with a cloth and then take her little wheeled cart and disappear for about an hour and then return. We didn't think much of it and carried on talking with the people who came to our table. For this show, we had booked a hotel room so we didn't have to drive all the way back to Milton every night. After the show had finished for the first day, it was about 9 o'clock in the evening and we were beat. That's a lot of standing and talking for a day, so my family and I grabbed a quick bite to eat and turned in for the evening. Morning came very fast and I didn't feel very rested, but up we got and headed back to the vendors' hall to see what the second day would bring us. Once our table was uncovered and set for the day, I headed across the aisle from where our table was to talk to the lady who was selling the dowsing devices. You know, it's a small world when after a brief introduction, we discovered that we knew some of the same people. She actually knew and was good friends with the man who had taught me dowsing many years ago, and who had unfortunately passed away. Our conversation quickly turned to dowsing and energies, at which point I produced the Seth pendant I had made several years prior. Offering it to my new friend to examine, I shared how it made a circuit and included Herkimer diamonds and a ceramic chip, explaining what it did while she held her pendulum over the Seth pendant and watched it spin increasingly faster and faster. Incredible, she said as her pendulum spun. There's more, I replied, and I reached for my phone and scrolled through my photos, producing pictures of the auric balancer, a handheld crystal device that lights up, and my NP13, another handheld crystal device. I explained to her that I had created these devices close to 30 years ago, but had stepped away for my own personal reasons. You have to do this, my new friend said firmly. You have to do this. What? I responded. You have to make these devices. The world needs them and the time is now. This was put to me in a way where I knew she was right. Seeing the interest from the people at the event and now talking to the lady who really knew her stuff. She was a past president of a dowsing society, and the reason she would cover up her table and disappear was because she was also a speaker at the event. She believed I should start making my devices again and offer them to the world. I really had to get back to my table as the crowds were returning, so we exchanged business cards and promised each other to stay in touch. Chapter 6. We are here, in the clouds. People were 3 deep at our table, looking at all the crystals and gemstones we had for sale. The Arcturian Ceph pendant that my family and I were wearing had drawn many. Ceph stands for Strength and Energy Field. Initially, we would see people looking at the crystals and gemstones. We would catch glimpses of them looking at the pendants we were wearing, which would prompt us to ask, "Are you interested in crystals?" And 9 times out of 10, they would respond, "What are you wearing?" This would open the door to a whole new area of conversation, and I would go on to explain my connection to the Arcturians and what the pendant was about. People seemed deeply interested and reported that they could feel the energy from our table, which was initially what attracted them. This seemed to be a non-stop process. People gathered around the table as I was explaining to them about what the pendant was designed to do. They would perk up when they heard something familiar. It was like people didn't want anyone to know they wanted to talk about Arcturians, their experiences and metaphysical phenomena. So they stayed back until they heard others talking and felt it was okay for them to share their experiences and interests. It is truly a wonderful thing when people finally realize they are not alone and that others share the same thoughts and ideas they do. It makes me very happy to be part of that process. Standing in the back behind the others, I noticed a man watching and listening intently. A few people started to leave to go listen to the next speaker. He approached our table casually, looking over everything we had. He started talking without looking up. He was still looking at the stones, picking up the occasional one to examine closely as he spoke. "There is more to you and your family than stones," he commented. "You are very connected." I commented that there was a very strong connection between the Arcturians and myself, which he replied, "They're here now, you know." Asking for some clarity, not totally understanding what he meant, I asked, "Are they in the room?" "There's a lot of energy here. Maybe they had been attracted to the event because of the energy." This man did not look like someone you would expect to be talking about Arcturians. However, he was. He responded, "There is a very large starship in the sky above the building at this very moment." He said that this is a very active area for starships. He told us it was common to see them. "Okay," I said. I wasn't aware of that. I didn't really believe what he was saying because it's not common for someone to tell you there is a starship above the building. As he sensed my hesitation to believe him, he cheerfully said that we could go outside and see the starship above the building. "Really?" I responded. "Really? There's one out there?" My patience was growing thin with this guy. However, he was persistent, so I agreed to go and have a look with him, believing it could be a potential scam. I had my wife and daughter stay with the table in their purses, just in case this was orchestrated to get us away from our valuables. "Okay, let's go," I said. "Let's go see the starship." Out we went, right out the front doors of the building. We turned to the right and walked out in the parking lot, away from the building, so we could have a clear view of the sky. As I looked up, it just looked like a normal sky to me. blue, mostly clear, a bright sun, and cloud formations. There, do you see it? He said. No, I don't see anything, I said, wondering to myself what the hell this guy had for breakfast. As far as I could tell, the sky looked normal to me. I couldn't have been so wrong. Laughing, the man told me that I needed to understand that high-dimensional starships were in our atmosphere all the time. However, they were in a higher dimension, cloaking themselves so only the people who knew what to look for would see them. He went on to explain that water vapor in the atmosphere was attracted to the magnetic fields of these large starships, forming cloud designs around the ships. So, if we were aware of these phenomena, we could see the outlines of the ships in the sky. Okay, I said, that makes more sense to me. As I looked up over the building, the sky took on a whole new meaning for me. Holy cow, look at that, my new friend said. He directed me to look at the lines that the clouds were forming in the round sections of the clouds. See the shape, he said. Do you see the ship? Absolutely, I responded. They also hide in the sun, he went on to say. Watch your eyes, but have a look. There are 3 more ships. Look at the clouds. This was way beyond anything I could have imagined. Just 10 minutes earlier, I thought this man is nuts, and now he proved he was speaking the truth. As fast as I could, I ran back inside and brought my family out and others from the room outside to see what was forming in the sky. There were easily 30 of us out there listening to this man explain how the water vapor was attracted to the magnetic fields of the starships and what was going on in the skies above us. So really, you never know what or who you will be introduced to. Always keep an open mind. Your life can change in seconds. Throughout the 3 days that we were there at the show, I would periodically stick my head outside and look up to see who was visiting. The shapes and sizes seemed to change, but the interesting cloud formations continued throughout the show. Since the show, my wife and I continued to look up at the clouds, and now we take photos to record the very interesting ones. Oddly enough, it seems when we hold energy circles and pyramid gatherings, interesting clouds form above our home. We know we are never alone.